Animals wander the earth, hunting and foraging for the energy they need to survive. Plants, on the other hand, require that exact same energy to grow, but they are firmly rooted in place. They lack mouths, and they cannot consume food from their environment. Instead of hunting, plants manufacture their own meals from scratch, entirely inside their own tissues. The main hubs for this production are the leaves. Leaves are green because they contain a specialized pigment called chlorophyll. This pigment acts like a microscopic solar panel, trapping energy from sunlight. It is the core ingredient that turns an ordinary leaf into a self-sustaining food factory. We can actually see the results of this factory at work. If you decolorize a leaf by boiling it in water and alcohol, and then add a drop of iodine, the surface rapidly turns blue-black. In biology, that specific color change is the standard proof that starch, stored food, is present inside the tissue. Without a digestive system, plants rely entirely on this quiet, invisible chemical processing to survive. To understand how they do it, we have to reverse engineer exactly how this internal factory operates. Making that stored starch requires 4 specific ingredients working together at the exact same time. Biologists mapped this process using a simple method, taking away one ingredient at a time and watching the factory shut down. The first requirement is sunlight, which provides the energy. If you cover part of a green leaf with black paper and leave it outside, only the sections exposed to the light will turn blue-black during an iodine test. The shaded part stops making food entirely. The second requirement is carbon dioxide from the air. You can test this by sealing a plant in a glass jar alongside a chemical called caustic soda, which actively absorbs carbon dioxide. Even sitting in bright sunlight, a leaf sealed in that airless jar will produce 0 starch. The third ingredient is that green pigment, chlorophyll. You might wonder about plants with red, brown, or purple leaves like crotons. They actually still contain chlorophyll and photosynthesize normally. The green is simply masked by other, stronger colored pigments in the plant. Finally, the plant needs water and minerals, which it actively draws up from the soil through its root system. When those 4 components combine, the plant produces glucose, a simple sugar for energy, and it releases oxygen. If you submerge an aquatic plant in water and place it in the sun, you can watch tiny bubbles of oxygen collecting on the leaves. You can even catch that gas in a test tube and use it to instantly reignite a glowing wooden splinter. The plant is actively pulling raw, inorganic materials from the earth and the air and fusing them into the chemical energy and breathable gas that powers life. We can map out this entire factory process using a single structural word equation. It starts with the raw materials, carbon dioxide plus water. To trigger the reaction, we add sunlight, captured by chlorophyll. This yields our final products, glucose to feed the plant and oxygen released into the air. Managing this chemical exchange requires specialized structures. Found mostly on the underside of every leaf are tiny microscopic pores called stomata. This diagram shows how these stomata function as mechanical doors. They physically open and close to regulate the exact flow of gases, pulling carbon dioxide molecules into the leaf and pushing oxygen molecules out. Charting the strict mechanics of this process took decades of observation. Indian scientist Rustam Hormusji Dastur dedicated his research to isolating the exact variables, like water levels, temperature, and light color, that dictate how efficiently this equation runs. Dastur conducted this rigorous study while heading the botany department at the Royal Institute of Science in Bombay, formalizing our understanding of plant biology. Photosynthesis operates as a highly regulated, mathematically measurable chemical equation, a sequence scientists have carefully decoded to understand exactly how plant life sustains itself. While this reaction happens on a microscopic scale inside a single leaf, its outputs build the entire biological world. Photosynthesis is the only way new food energy enters almost every single food chain on Earth. Every animal that eats a plant, or eats another animal that ate a plant, is running on trapped solar energy. It also acts as a continuous climate regulator, steadily filtering carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere to keep the planet's temperature balanced. At the same time, it generates essentially all the breathable oxygen in our atmosphere. A single large tree can produce enough oxygen in one day for multiple humans to breathe. The quiet chemistry happening inside a green leaf is the primary engine of the planet. endlessly converting inert gases and water into the living, breathing ecosystem we inhabit. Let's review the core mechanics we've covered today. How does the iodine test prove a leaf is making food? What are the 4 strict requirements for photosynthesis? Why does a leaf sealed with caustic soda fail to produce starch? Can you recite the full word equation? And finally, what mechanical role do stomata play on the leaf?